the Jake Giffin Podcast.
Evan Turk says America isn't broken, it's been hijacked. As head of the American Rights Alliance, he's defended jailed whistleblowers taking on election fraud cover-ups and daring to ask, what happens when the Bill of Rights becomes just a bill of suggestions? Some call him a patriot, others call him dangerous, but here's the riddle. Why would the government spend so much energy silencing people they claim are irrelevant? Why does Evan believe the biggest threat to your freedom isn't coming from China or Russia? It's coming from Washington, D.C. We're going to talk about the political prisoners. We're going to talk about censorship that hides in plain sight and whether America's future is already locked behind bars. Evan Turk is here, and by the time we're done, you'll have to decide whether he's exposing the truth or pulling you into a fight you didn't even know you were in yet. Evan Turk, welcome to the Jake Giffin Podcast, sir. 2026 is going to be amazing for the Jake Giffin Podcast, and I appreciate everybody who has subscribed in 2025. We made incredible advancements, mostly in our audio reach with our Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. All you guys are so lovely people. Have subscribed to the podcast, and you're getting engaged. Now on YouTube, we've blown up. Of course, blown up. We went from 16 to 1,400, right? So we're going even further in 2026. I want to hear from you. What do you guys want to hear? What do you guys want to see in regards to guests? And how would you like to be able to participate possibly in even the lives? If maybe we do a live podcast where you guys all get to play a role and ask the questions that you want to ask. That would be fun. What do you think? Leave a comment below and make sure you subscribe, and thank you so much for all the support.
Pleasure to be here.
You have a long history. You're getting yourself into some trouble. You're getting some whistleblowers hopefully out of trouble. You got a lot of things going on, man. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in the American government right now that got you started on this path.
Wow. It started the second Trump went down the escalator, and I saw that he was basically considered a threat. First a joke, then a threat. And this is not, my whole endorsement on and critique on the president. I just think that's the beginning part of where I saw things were being treated differently. He was a beloved man throughout society. He was on The View. He was on all late night shows. And for some reason that we don't know, as he started winning, they thought of him as enemy number one. And if you follow his career from the moment that he went down that escalator to where we stand today, one of the things that I think he's done best is expose the corruption. Something about what he is doing scares a lot of people, and the rhetoric is absurd. You can't get truth anymore. The news does not value truth. And I'm not saying truth is what I agree with. Truth is free speech and the ability to get your information without bias. We don't have that anymore. And it all leads you down a path of what seems to be every step of the way corruption. And It scares me to the point where I, as a father of two children, I have to make sure that the promise of America that I saluted to the flag every day in elementary school and middle school and high school, it's the same pledge. And I'm not looking to separate left and right and get points on saying certain things. I'm just looking for the country to come back to a place where it once was and the future where it could be, where everybody has the ability to come to this country legally, and everyone has the ability to make a better living than their previous generation.
I mean, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, but but the world is different now, right? America is different. Isn't it normal for a culture, for a society, for a mega power like ours to eventually evolve? I mean, there's been centuries and centuries of very large populations and governments and civilizations that have started. They go through the same bell curve as, let's say, a business where there's changes and they evolve and they take on cultural whatevers. And let's face it, I mean, they all get corrupted, they all get messed up, and then fade into some oblivion. So I mean, how do you even hold if it is as corrupt as, and I'm going to play some devil's advocate here, even though I'm probably like right next to you, right? It's, I don't know where the cabal is, right? I don't know who's pulling the strings or who's doing what. I mean, we look back at the last 5 years, the last president especially, and we wonder who was even running the country
Right.
and who was doing what and who's responsible for the decisions that were made. So I'm on your side, but at what point do you just kind of go, hey man, this just isn't the country that the Constitution says it is, or we'd hope it would be?
That would be a sad day. And that's why that's why the American Rights Alliance, the charity that I'm the founder of, was created so that we don't ever have to have that day.
Mhm.
I remember growing up, and the world's greatest generation was my grandparents' generation. And men were men at 17. And now men aren't men at 35,
35.
if ever. And we don't even know
Yeah.
what a man is anymore. I mean, it's
No, we
getting to
can't
the
we can't
point
define
where
it.
we can't define it, and it scares me. It scares me that complacency and it not affecting me in this particular moment, and if I'm getting some free stuff or if it doesn't affect me personally, then everything is okay. And really where everything changed, in my opinion, is after President Trump left office, how they used political warfare against him. And you hear people that say Trump belongs in jail. But nobody says the actual or could even understand the crime that got him convicted there. They don't see the corruption to convict him there. They don't see when other people have done things that are right in your face. And that's fine. We look the other way. We accept that. What scares me as somebody in this organization, and this is really something that I never felt before in this country, is that if I speak up and speak my First Amendment right, my freedom of speech, they could put me behind bars now. There's precedent for it.
I mean,
And that scares me.
what's the precedent for putting you behind bars for saying what you want?
Well, we could go back to all the people. Let's take voter fraud. Whether you have a position for or against, I'm bringing that up as a just as a to address your question.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, you see what's going on about voter fraud, and there are people that believe that we could show evidence. Doesn't matter at this point. The media and whatever you want to call it, the deep state, is determined that there was no voter fraud. I don't know if there was the positioning one way or another, but the second you started saying that there was, your free speech was taken away. Your credibility was taken away. Um, Questions that we had the ability to ask were never really truly addressed, never answered.
Mm.
To the point where when we were designing this charity and I went on to AI systems to talk about certain things, you couldn't even get the free speech out in the algorithms or however they program the AI. They said, no, this is untrue, but truth it's concrete. When you go into the surfaces deeper, into the surfaces of what truth is and what it isn't, you don't get answers.
Hmm.
It's kind of like when you're a child and you want to question why you have to go to bed at 9 o'clock when you're wide awake, and your parents said it's because I said so.
Hmm.
And there is no truth behind that saying. There's no scientific evidence that you'll get better grades if you go to sleep at 9 o'clock. There was no scientific study or evidence presented. It was just because I said so. And that's what's going on. And I
So is
use
that
that
that's
as an
what's happening?
example.
So that's what's happening now with our government. They're saying go to bed at 9 o'clock. We're asking why, and they're saying basically because we said so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like do do your job, pay your taxes so that we can do our job and run the world, and then keep you in line. Is it basically? So when did this? I mean, this has been going on for forever. Has it just become more obvious since, let's say, Bill Clinton? Was it obvious before Bill Clinton? It was definitely obvious when Hillary was running against Trump. That was super obvious. Like the whole Russian thing, all
Yeah.
that stuff that came out about Trump for the whole time before he became president the first time, his whole first term, and then much later after that, it was just constant barrage of lies after lies after lies after lies.
Mhm.
Is that when the big kind of underpinnings of this management system of America became so obvious? Is when we saw that kind of craziness?
I think that's when it became a lot more evident and our suspicions became, you know, clearly obvious that there were more than just suspicions at that point.
Do you think they just got you think they just had power for so long? They just never thought it was conceivable that we would ever question their authority. And so they boldly went out there to tell lies that they knew were lies. They fabricated things to try to get this guy from being president. They they did all kinds of weird things to keep us from knowing the truth. And they did it so it seemed obvious to me what they were doing. And is that obviousness a result of their pride and the fact that they think they're untouchable?
I think it was because of their fear of becoming discovered. And you had somebody for the first time, possibly ever,
Mhm.
that wasn't beholden to certain powers that be and would question them. And all of a sudden, um, all those deep secrets could get exposed. That's my thinking. That's
Those
my
deep, yeah, those particular deep secrets. But that's not to say that Trump himself doesn't have some deep secrets, and that's not to say
correct.
that he doesn't have his own maybe conservative cabal or whatever happening under, replacing the old tyrannical liberal cabal with a more conservative one. Who knows what's happening under there? Do you have any idea, any guesses or any? We won't call them conspiracies because who knows? They'll just, the free speech people will, throw hate at us. But is there any? Who's controlling Trump? Who's controlling Hillary? Who's controlling all the people, all the senators? Do we know?
You ask 10 experts, you'll get 10 different responses for that. My what I do believe is that there can't be that many people in this country that agrees with the extreme on both sides of the political aisle, but we are guided by both sides of the political aisle in the
Mm.
extreme. And where President Trump lies would be considered where JFK was in the 60s in his political viewpoints. They always say JFK would be a Republican if he was alive today. I don't think that would be true. I think things drift, but I think that what really concerns me is what is causing the drift It's the two extremes, and that's where the power is, because that's where the secrets are. I can't imagine the things that people are spewing out of their mouths that are so extreme that you then hear it on the news as almost like it's mainstream.
Hmm.
You know, things when I was a little kid, they would say to me, boys and girls, boys over here, girls over there. Now you can't even define what a boy is. And you have these people, for example, somebody who is going to get sworn in as the to the Supreme Court as a justice of the United States, cannot be honest with you in an answer. You know they're giving a scripted line of BS
Hmm.
to say something so that whoever um, the powers that may be keep them in check.
Mm.
And it scares me because you know when they're at home at night, they don't believe the nonsense that's coming out of their mouth. You can't. They're educated people. They're intelligent people. And I think the one thing that you could understand more than anything is if you look at the influx of anti-Semitism, especially over the Biden administration, you can see where it's all being manufactured and
Hmm.
accepted. It's in the universities.
Yeah.
And then you see Charlie Kirk get assassinated
Hmm.
uh, based on trying to seek truth. And they call him ultra right wing because you can't call somebody a Christian anymore.
Right.
That's what he was, a Christian.
Hmm.
And I've been blessed to have met him, Charlie. I've had dinner with Charlie. He asked me to be on his advisory council. This is in about 2017. I have never met a smarter, more integrity-driven, religious-based gentleman, someone who's 20 years my age, younger, that I would look up to for advice. And
Yeah.
that was Charlie. And the fact that you could be so divisive on somebody who just believed in Jesus, and that was his biggest sin to most who hated him, and they used such terms as fascist and um, racist, and they took him out of context.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot has to do with the media accepting taking things out of context and not having to worry about that. And you've seen that with Trump when he said there's good people on this side and there's good people on that side, and they took him completely out of context, and they used that to call him a racist.
Yeah. So is the liberal me? So is the media itself, whether it's liberal or not, are they bought and paid for?
Clearly, they are. It wouldn't make sense. Common sense would make you want to question why aren't there people like Walter Cronkite? Why are they people that are spewing hate that will get people to take action? We're going back into the 60s where people are accepting assassinations now to as an acceptable way of dealing with grievances. And you have these universities, these professors. I don't know if you saw recently, one of the professors, I don't recall which university it was a couple of days ago. He was accepting to do violence to protect his chosen free speech. I mean, that's not free speech anymore. And these are
Oh,
the
yeah. Yeah.
people you're paying $100,000 a year at some of these quote unquote fine institutions. And yet this is what you're getting.
Well, and that's what they've been for a long time. I mean, where once they started weeding Christians out of the marketplace, once they started taking tenure away from them in the universities, once they started identifying them and removing them from educational facilities, all over the United States, things became more and more humanist. And
Right.
this seems to be the way, in my worldview at least, this seems to be the way that it goes when you do what Nietzsche says and you kill God. And he goes on to say in that book what happens when you do so. This is the consequence. You get animals that are running the government. If it is survival of the fittest, then they are doing exactly what animals are expected to do, which is to kill your free speech, to jail you for your rights and jail you for what you believe is true, and raise their own rights and their own free speech up. These are the people who say that you're not allowed to question somebody's gender because that makes you a bigot, but they also want you to, they want you to uphold or abide by their rules of speech, but they also don't want you, but they don't want you yelling fire in a theater or doing something, relatively benign.
Yeah. When it suits their rhetoric, it's okay. When it suits their
Yeah.
agenda, when somebody's looking to be accepted into a group of people and that's what they're saying, nobody has a backbone anymore to say, no, I don't agree with that. I think you saw a lot um, exposed during COVID
Yeah.
and
Well, for sure.
hypocrisy of all of it, or George Floyd and the peaceful protests and the fact that they make somebody who put a gun at one time to a pregnant woman
Mhm.
use him as a martyr, and then yet call someone like Charlie Kirk um, racist, fascist, bigot,
Right.
whatever you can come up with. That kind of takes away the strength and the power of those words. To put somebody in the same equivalent as Adolf Hitler it is completely untrue, but it's absurd, it's
Mhm.
disgusting, and it's shameful beyond shame. You can't take anyone serious when they come and use those words because they have no line of credibility anymore.
No, I mean, but you don't really need credibility when you own the universities and you own the media
Yeah,
and and you have sculpted the young minds of Americans, because
well,
then you can just call somebody fascist, you can call somebody whatever you want, and then they're just going to parrot that out
yeah,
like it's the truth without actually knowing the definitions of these terms.
correct.
So, I mean, are you familiar with Saul Alinsky's work in Rules for Radicals?
A little, but I wouldn't be able to quote his work.
It is on some level the idea that you see somebody doing something that you're doing, and you basically attack them, you call them names, you put out
Yeah,
all the propaganda. It's everything that Hillary Clinton's been doing because she was a disciple of Alinsky. So it's, one of
yeah,
those that is a key factor to winning a political war is calling each other names and throwing. So basically the equivalent of apes throwing poop at each other. It's like I get to call you names, but you don't get to call me names, and that's a rule, right? So
yeah,
it's an interesting dynamic that we have on from the it's left heavy right now.
yeah,
Whereas, for a long time they've been able to do whatever they wanted and frame things and frame stories in a way that makes everybody else look like imbeciles or hateful people or whatever. Now conservatives are getting a little bit of momentum, but what keeps them from doing the same thing over the next 10 years?
yeah. I mean, I don't mind a valid argument with somebody who I disagree with.
Hmm.
But the problem is that you can't have a logical argument with someone you disagree with anymore because they hit you with emotions and words like racist, and then all of a sudden you're defending yourself that you're not a racist, and you're getting off the point because they can't win with logic. You can't win with knowledge. They have to fight a battle. It's kind of like guerrilla warfare, and we as we want to separate it as conservatives or Republicans, just Americans,
Hmm.
like on both sides. If you want to win an argument, you should be able to have an argument that may offend the other side.
Hmm.
And I think I'm trying to think of his name, that psychiatrist who's the Canadian psychiatrist, is a best-selling author.
Oh, Peterson.
Yeah, he said it best is, you have no problem offending me. But the second I try to say something that offends you, you give me a problem.
Yeah.
And that's where we are nowadays. We can't be honest. We can't be truthful. This country went from a lot, has a background. It's not perfect. There's a lot of racism. We had slavery, Jim Crow laws. I being Jewish, growing up in a place where, you know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, even now, you can't join certain clubs and state your affiliation of Judaism to be a member.
Yeah.
I understand that, but at the same time, we grew completely in the right direction. Something happened. And, when Obama got into office, we thought that, we showed it as a society that we could get past a lot of things. To have a black man in office, surprisingly, before a female in office, um, at least showed that race isn't the driving force, and whites, Hispanics, you name it, Asians, they're not going to vote just because of the basis of the color of their skin. And quite honestly, that vote, he won two times. It wasn't a fluke.
Right.
And yet, look where we are today. A president in office that's labeled as a racist. I believe he did have a black girlfriend at one time. They don't even discuss that. Um, his daughter's Jewish, yet they call him, you know, a lot of things that are unbecoming at best. But why
Yeah.
and who? And what is the agenda? Because yet anything that Hunter Biden did, The View in particular would defend him. He's a father, but yet when Donald Trump Jr. is on The View, they don't get, he doesn't get that same courtesy.
No, he doesn't get the same courtesy as being a father, being a crackhead father at that. Well, and
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting that, and I think there's a lot of people who knew that prior to what was it, when Trump and Biden were running against each other, um, that last month leading up to the election, a lot of early elections came, a lot of mail-in elections already happened when the laptop information came out.
yeah.
So people had already put in their vote. That would Had they not hidden that piece of information, that free speech, had the media not hidden it, had they
Mhm.
not lied about it, and had there not been early voting, there's no way in hell Joe Biden becomes president, knowing
Mhm.
with that laptop out there. And that's not just the laptop, other things, but um, people ran cover for him. And I'm just wondering, do we have any idea? Like, I'm always fascinated with this idea of, like, I don't know if there's an undercover cabal situation, the George Soros of the world, the Koch brothers of the world, the kind of people who are, the Pfizer, you know, pharmaceuticals and everybody else. It's kind of playing this underlying game of who can funnel money to the most influential senators and get votes and
Yeah.
manipulate things. I mean, maybe that's all it is that there's just influential billionaires that are funneling money to the right people, and that's how the world is working right now. Um I always wonder, does that go another layer deeper where those billionaires are answering to a person or to a group of people that are trying to manipulate policy and take over, uh not maybe take over the United States, but milk it for as much money as they possibly can? I don't know. What's the
Hey,
motivation, do you think?
well, let's look at the facts, Jake. The New York Post published an article. New York Post has been around for, don't quote me, at least 100 years, but it was like 150 years or something to that effect. Um, Established news outlet. Find something that you can't say it was defamatory because it was truthful, and to find out after it no longer mattered and it wasn't that newsworthy anymore, that it was a complete hoax. Yet Facebook, if you talk about freedom of speech, if you put that article out there on Facebook, or said what was in the article, which was nothing but truth, all of a sudden your freedom of speech was taken away from you.
Hmm.
So you go back and look at how does Facebook have all that power? It's because they have, through lobbyists, I would imagine, have been in a position to say that they cannot be sued as news reporters. Meanwhile, social media is the primary outlet for news.
Yeah.
So they have the best of both ways, best of both worlds, I mean.
Yep.
But it wasn't just Facebook. It was the New York Times. It was the Washington Post. It was the LA Times. It was all national news outlets. It was the news itself. You look like a kook if you actually spoke the truth. And I think that's what's going to happen with the elections and the integrity of what's happening with the elections as well. I think over time, but time has passed and people don't care as much. There is no more outrage. But at some point, we have lost all faith in the government because we know that there is no foundation of truth behind anything that you hear anymore.
Yeah.
Right now we're at a government freeze because we don't have the budget passed. And you listen to MSNBC or CNN, which I don't normally do. It's kind of like going to the dentist without Novocaine, but it's a really interesting project to listen to and say, all right, let me understand what people who may not agree with me, what are they listening to every day?
Hmm.
If you recorded the other side, let's say you recorded Fox News and you said for 2 weeks, I'm going to listen to only CNN or MSNBC, pick and
Right.
choose,
Yep.
it's the same thing. And you listen to that, you would view America completely different than if you listen to Fox News. It is scary. So if you listen, like, for example, today, um, as to the government lockdown, as to why it's happening, perfect example, from listening to Fox News, they say that one of the reasons why the Republicans do not want to push through with this bill is that the Democrats have $1 trillion worth of excess spending, and one of which is in Obamacare and healthcare, allowing those expenditures to go to illegal immigrants, which we now somehow the left has hijacked that word and we say undocumented individuals, which
Yeah.
I'll call it what it is.
Right.
You listen to CNN or MSNBC, the same story. The Republicans don't care about health care. And all those people who put all their money into the taxes to get health benefits and all these subsidies, they're going to be affected because the Republicans do not care.
Right.
So if you constantly hear a story without truth, that's intentionally misleading, over time you're just going to create an animosity towards the other side, and there is no ability to meet at the middle because you don't even understand where the middle is.
No, that's right.
And
Yeah,
it's
but that's a
definitely,
rule. I think there's a rule that says that if you're gonna espouse a lie, you got to do it so often enough that it becomes the truth.
yeah,
You
I
know,
think it was Goebbels, or sometimes Hitler gets credit for it. The bigger the lie, the more you tell it, the more it becomes the truth.
yeah.
And I'm quoting that correctly, but I was blessed with many things. A photogenic memory is not one of them.
You and me
But
both, my friend.
I love when people could just quote these things off the top of their tongue, like as if the book's in front of them.
No, I hate them I hate them like chubby chicks hate models.
Yeah,
They make me sick. I'm like, why do you? I had a mentor that was like that. He'd read a book, and then all of a sudden he'd understand all the complex concepts within it, and you're just
yeah.
going, how did you do that, man? That's not fair.
But he may have not been able to put his zipper up after he left the bathroom. I find that's the downside to the intelligence like that.
I don't. It might be a worthy downside, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's tough. I can operate my zipper, but I can't,
yeah.
put simple math together in my head anymore. So that's a problem.
Yeah. Well,
But
we have time. We have calculators, computers, and a lot of technology that could do all that stuff.
what
Yeah.
I mean, what role has some of that played in our lives? So when we have, let's say Google, you have well Alphabet, Google, you have all the tech companies. Combine all the tech companies, and they know. Google by themselves already know. They know what you're going to do when you wake up in the morning.
Oh,
They
yeah.
could probably predict what you're going to do every day for the next month and a half. Right?
Yeah.
They know you maybe
If
better than we know ourselves. And then you combine that with Facebook and you combine that with everything else, and you go, oh yeah, they know us so well that we're easily manipulated. Like we're super easily like we just
I know.
mentioned. You tell a lie long enough, it becomes a truth. You tell these young people that somebody's a fascist, all of a sudden they start running around yelling fascist at everybody. They don't know what it means. They just know that it sounds good.
Yeah, and then you're allowed to say incredibly asinine things like Joyce Bear, I think, said it, or Whoopi Goldberg said it on The View, that that a woman has more freedom. I think it was Whoopi because I think she said a woman has more freedom in Iran than a black woman in America. It's
The fact
just,
that you can say that, look, the fact that you can say that on a
yeah,
national morning television show
yeah.
and still have a job means there's some hope for free speech in America, right?
Unbelievable. But getting back to the algorithms, I was laughing when you were saying I didn't want to interrupt you. But being a 48-year-old white male, the algorithm says that Tai Chi is what I have to be doing. So I skip the gym and do Tai Chi, and they have all these people. It's like I'm in the 50 and up now category.
Yeah.
So they show all these people who look better than me at 50 and they're doing Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Or elastic pants is my next one. They have these elastic
Oh,
suit pants. I'm like, the day I get my elastic pants, that's when I know.
that's when you know, dude. That's it's over at Elastic Pants. It's
Yeah,
funny you mentioned the Tai Chi thing though, because my social media feed is full of Tai Chi people now.
yeah,
I actually told my wife I was considering doing because I've been doing a lot of multi axis movements in the
uh,
morning for my exercises now because I'm getting older. So I want to do more functional things. And then I told her, I said, I think I'm going to start doing Tai Chi. So it's funny you said that. And
yeah,
and a little creepy if I'm being honest, because you're
yeah.
mentioning Tai Chi, it's in your feed, it's in my feed. Do we actually, is this something, an idea that we're having, or is this an idea that is being fed to us over time?
And think about this. Your social media tends to share with you your political beliefs and vice versa, mine too, right? But on the opposite side, if you looked at somebody who would disagree with you on every political idea possible, if you followed their social media, you may understand why, because it's subliminal, it's every day.
Mhm.
Y- I try not to use social media that much, and I probably open my Facebook or Instagram because I'm a dinosaur. I don't use TikTok or I don't use the ones my kids are using, which is Snapchat. And I don't even know why I'm doing it anymore. I don't enjoy it.
All
Uh,
right.
And like perfect example is you have people there who are showing their best life ever
Yeah.
at their influencers, and you have women watching these videos of these beautiful girls putting makeup on and talking all day,
Hmm.
and in front of these closets that if you add up their clothing, their pocketbooks and their shoes, you have $200,000-300,000 worth of inventory there. And people are thinking that's what I want.
Yep.
So if they don't have that, it's not because of anything else. It's not because most people do not have it. It's someone else's fault now. And then you couple that with all the other subliminal messaging, and that's probably why we are where we are. So one of the things that you asked at the beginning of this conversation was, what has changed, right?
Hmm.
Has this always been there? And the answer is no. I think we don't realize how bad social media is.
Hmm.
Like, perfect example, when Charlie got assassinated, I have a lot of pictures with Charlie. I talked to him on the phone for some time. It would help him on certain legal questions he may have had. And I didn't post anything because I didn't know what to post. I haven't posted, and maybe I will post something. But the amount of time people think about posting to whoever's going to read it, why are you posting it? So you have a picture next to Charlie or the president or anyone else. I'm just guilty like others. What is the actual underlying message? I am somebody. I met
Yeah.
this person.
Yeah.
Then you say, I'm sorry that Charlie passed away. Oh, here's me with Charlie.
Yeah.
And this is the society of we've become. We have become a society where, in order to feel relevant, you have to have relevance. You have to have pictures of you with someone who is what you consider relevant.
Yeah.
And everyone's painting social media, except some, I don't know if I would call them brave, but others who may be clueless. But everyone always, including me, paints the best day on social media, and everyone looks at it, and everyone thinks, why am I not like that?
Hmm.
And then you see all these answers, subliminal answers on social media, and it's like, it's not me. I
Yeah.
think what has happened too, about 20 years ago, is that we had these participation trophies. So you stop taking away personal accountability.
Yeah.
You have the baby boom generation. You had the Generation X, which I'm at the end of. And in the Generation X, there's a change in philosophy. There's more that you can do anything and be anything you want. And if you don't accomplish that, it's not your fault. It's someone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't take personal accountability. And I hate that saying you can be anything you want. You can't.
No.
I can't be a woman. I was born a man. I can't be a basketball player because I'm 6 foot, just made 6 foot, and I can't even do a layup half the time.
Yeah.
There's certain things, no matter how much I practice, I'll never get to be good at. But there's other things that I'm really good at that most people do not shine in. We
Yeah.
all have given talents, but everyone wants to be something that is nearly impossible to become, such as me becoming a basketball player. But
Yeah.
rather than saying I just don't have that in me, I'm not, that was not my purpose in life. And if you don't find God on top of that, you can't appreciate what has caused this. And your distortion of reality is it's so extreme that you think it's logical to take a sniper weapon and shoot somebody because they said something you disagreed with.
Yeah. Well, I think the downfall was, I think maybe part of the downfall, not the downfall, obviously, because these things are layered and they're, you know,
Yeah.
prints baked in at some point slowly. But I think one of the things 20 years ago is that the Kardashians set a precedent
Yeah.
that said, I can be filthy rich and uber famous and desired and wanted by, you know, everything and have absolutely no talent for doing so. And so, you know, we looked at them and we thought, look at them, man. They don't have really any talent. They're
Yeah.
super. Why can't I have that?
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
a
well,
good point.
it's like, and then everybody, I think they're starting to peel back some of the layers on the social media thing, figuring out why these kids are so messed up in their head, why they're so depressed and so lonely and so everything. In spite of the fact they're more connected now, at least digitally, than any other time. It's we had Gen X, we had the physical interaction, right?
Yeah.
We went outside when we got home. We stayed outside till the street lights went on. We ate dirt and drank from the hose, and we punched each other in the face. And we did fun stuff that we turned out, considering our circumstances, considering our parents who were nutcases, we turned out relatively fine.
I mean, think about it. When I was in high school, there was no social media.
Mm-mm.
If you wanted to go on a date, you actually had to have enough courage to walk up to that woman, that girl, and say, "Hey, I find you attractive. Let's go out for a date." Say it in a
Yeah,
much nicer way than I just said it right now, and believe in yourself enough that more likely than not, it will happen.
Yeah.
Right now, you could just go on, I don't know what the websites are, but the social, like the dating sites right now, and you could just swipe left, swipe right, and all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, you found a connection, and you can go outside your house, drive 10 minutes, and meet up with that
Yeah.
person. So it's just a different world where you don't have to be as brave as you once did. So the people who were brave aren't nearly as rewarded. So you have natural selection and survival of the fittest getting manipulated because of technology. So the people who were those dominant, let's call it what it is, dominant men who can do that, now they don't need to have that dominance. They don't
Right.
have to be the confident guy in the bar. They could go on, social media, create a fake nonsensical platform of relevance. And I just, it was funny because I remember seeing a friend, he said, this is years ago, but it was when Instagram was around, and he would say, all you have to do is just get their information on Instagram, and you see everything about them on Instagram, and you determine whether or not you want to see them again, and you just send them a message. I mean, it changed everything.
Yeah.
And we think about all the easiness and the good side of that, but what about the challenges? It's the challenges in life that strengthen you, that encourage you, and make you value what you have.
Yeah.
Because if it's hard to get enough confidence to do that, you'll appreciate the accomplishment itself.
Mm.
You'll treat people better because you don't want to have to start over again, because then you have to go back to that issue.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I think, and to that point, I think that's what politicians do. And I've said this before on this podcast, and that is that if you're working from a Darwinian evolutionary standpoint, then and you are not capable of taking on a physical altercation without losing, because in the survival of the fittest,
Yeah.
it was, look, if you get taken out, it's because you were weaker than the other species, right, or whatever it is. So it's like, this is the right, the only way, if you're weaker, the only way really you can survive that kind of environment is by hedging yourself in with influence and laws. And so that's why we end up with senators and representatives that are idiots, because they've made it to some echelon of influence, and then they hedge themselves in with people that have more money than them and more influence than them, and all their real job is to continue to get elected. That's why we have the people like AOC of the world. She's an absolute dumpster fire of a mental
Yeah.
human being. I don't even know what her IQ is. I can't imagine it's very high. She's super
Mm.
dumb, but
Yeah.
she's there.
Yeah. No, no, and she'll be there for a while. And Nancy Pelosi, I think it was today or yesterday, was just getting. It was funny seeing how her frustrated and flustered by the things that have come out of her mouth. But yet she'll be in that office no matter how bad that district in New York gets, and it's bad.
Hmm.
No matter how bad the powers may be, whatever the promises they are. I mean, she'll be in that office. Take Mandami or Mandami, whoever is the next mayor of New York.
Yeah.
It's never, I mean, I haven't done much research on this man, so a lot of what I'm saying is hearsay, but from what I understand is he's never held a real job in his life. His family comes from money. Um, you want someone in their 30s who never had a tough life, or had to make a tough decision in their life, other than mommy, I want this, daddy, can you get me this? I mean,
Right.
what success has that person had to get him in a position where he's controlling a budget, the biggest city budget in the country, if not the world,
Right.
and telling people we need to have grocery stores that are public grocery stores, thinking that there is such thing as free. Free just means wealth distribution.
Yeah.
To call him a Democrat socialist, nobody knows what that means.
Yeah. And he's
Nobody
probably
even
going to
understands.
win.
He will most inevitably win. And part of me says I want him to win, not because I want him to win for any other reason, but part of me will say, like, I thought Dinkins was pretty bad when he was in office. And then I thought, um, but then after Dinkins, you had, I think you had Giuliani, and then you had Bloomberg, but then you had de Blasio.
Right.
And I was like, you can't get worse than de Blasio. And now you have the guy, it's like, you want to see worse? I'll show you worse.
Yeah,
And I don't even know what a Democrat socialist means. It's kind of like a celibate pregnant woman, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's oxymoronic. Like, you can't be both.
yeah.
But the thing that drives me nuts about this, and this is what we strive to do with the American Rights Alliance charity, is to bring back common sense, bring back to America to the idea of why we were successful for so long.
Hmm.
And you can't just count on that to be the future. Every great society has an endpoint. But now, if you follow one of the biggest, most powerful societies of all time, is the United Kingdom, or England, I should say, you get arrested today. It's all over the news. People are getting arrested for freedom of speech. People don't like what they're saying on social media. All of a sudden, they're getting a knock on the door and going to jail. I mean, that's how far we've gotten. And where's the outrage? Because if it happens there, when it's going to happen here, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, and there isn't any outrage because it's how much outrage would there have to be for something to change? I mean, you'd have to, you hate to use the word violence, but I mean, you'd have to push Americans so far out of our comfort. We like our comfort, man. Like we really like our comforts. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be asked to, well, look, we adjust our speech now, right? Instead of
Yeah.
saying somebody's homeless, we say they're unhoused. What the hell is that? That's
Yeah. Again, like I said before, you're no longer an illegal alien. You're an undocumented worker.
right.
Undocumented. I started a job and I didn't produce my driver's license. That makes me an undocumented worker or a migrant. Migrants are the newer. I think they're more than undocumented workers because under the Biden administration, what they said was the reason why all these people are moving here. They had the audacity to declare it on global warming. If
Yeah.
people believe that, then every single problem that you want, you could blame global warming. Oh, freedom of speech. No, we can't because global warming. Why global warming? Because the freedom that you're getting is going to allow people to pretend that global warming is not going to happen. I think global warming is the smartest thing you could possibly have to take control over the world. It's kind of almost like a false religion.
Mm,
If you don't believe it, you're going to rot in hell.
that's right. Yeah, no, it's the perfect power grab.
Yeah.
It's you can because you can wrap up everybody into it, whether they're religious or they're atheists or whatever they are. You can wrap everybody into this one thing, which is if we don't do something about the environment, we're all going to die. So let's come together and figure this out. And they managed to pull the wool over our eyes now for a couple decades. And good for them. They gathered a lot of power to themselves, and they're making us pay for it. But
You
you're
know what makes
working hard at the American Rights Alliance to kind of change all that stuff. Tell people where they can find you and some of the stuff you're into.
Yeah, so we're the American Rights Alliance, www.americanrightsalliance.org. We are a First Amendment principled nonprofit 501c3 that's fighting for your rights. May disagree, may not disagree. Most often, we are dealing with people who have been imprisoned, and we're trying to get out for things that are exceptionally scary, because if it could happen to those who are behind bars, it could happen to you, it could happen to me. Um, the perfect person that we're helping is the person who's been in jail for crimes that you don't even know exist. We're also dealing with a lot in re-changing the penal system, the criminal justice system. The First Step Act that was created by Donald Trump, which was bipartisan, approved. Let's start with something where we could both agree on. People who have double life sentences for nonviolent crimes, if we could get them out of jail and make them good members of society and bring back families, and find a way we can do it where there is little to no recidivism. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We just expanded. We're bringing on 2 people who got clemency from Trump office, the first administration, and they both got pardons recently.
Nice.
And we have a program with 98% certainty that they will not go back into the system. We're bringing back families. We're trying to find something we could all agree on. When we're not fighting for that, 'cause that's a new program, we're working on a bunch of people whose rights have been taken away, whether it's working alongside James O'Keefe and the whistleblowers that are reporting information that is important to get out there to protect free speech, and those people get attacked. So we're helping protect those individuals so to encourage the free dissemination of speech. We're also working on pretty high stakes cases. You get, whether it's pardons or clemency, we're always, there's never enough work that it's not like we're ever struggling to find work, because injustice comes every day to us. The problem is that we are lawyers, but we have to pay lawyers to do legal work, and it gets expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best business model when you raise money and you're not giving, food away, you're giving legal support.
Yeah.
And each one of these cases can run over $100,000. And so we have to really help people get them the justice that they belong in, bring back what America has promised to everybody. I don't care your race or creed. As long as you bleed red, white, and blue, we're here for you. We want the freedom to have debates and the freedom to have open conversation without being scared. And we don't want corporations to tell employees that they can't speak up because, we don't want to offend anybody. Well, you just offended me by saying that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not that they don't want to offend anybody, it's they don't want to offend certain people.
Yeah.
And we're trying to speak up for the other people that's rights have been taken away in fear.
All right. Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing over there. We'll link everything in the description. We'll get everything out on social media. I have no doubt this won't be the first time we talk, Evan. There's a lot of political things coming up and a lot of things. I think we should get together every time they tell us we're not allowed to say a particular word, and then we just get together and just say that word for an hour.
I agree. We'll start with not saying they, them when you're talking to he or her.
That's right. Yeah, let's start there. Thanks a lot, Evan, for coming on, man. We'll get together.
If you
soon.
enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. For more information about Jake, log on to jakegiffin.com and find him on all social media platforms.